So who's the right person to take the Know Your Values course? It's such a really good introductory course. It's deceptively simple though. In fact, because it's all about like one getting to know your values, but that's literally the first like step one in the Know Your Values course. And then it's now that you know them, you've got your like top five that you think are pretty solid. Now what do you do with them? And how do they show up in your life? And how have these been showing up in your life already since the time when you were starting to interact with your world to the time now, but you didn't have names for them. So, how can you use self observation to see how they've been actually quite present in your life through your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings, whether you were aware of them or not? And then how do you name them? And then how do you see how they're showing up in we usually use like the past experiences to do some self-reflection, self-observation. When were they really satisfied? And you think of your different life areas and which values are showing up in those life areas and what values were satisfied and which values were frustrated. And you start to create this crucial link between these sort of passive, yeah, sometimes they're interesting and there's some it's good to know them, but then you actually see how active they are in causing you to think the things you think and feel the things you feel and do the things that you do. And you're like, oh my God, like I've cracked the code. I have, now I'm understanding why I do what I do, or think what I think, or feel what I feel. And that is a crucial piece of self understanding. And it goes beyond self awareness because the awareness is the self observation. This goes deeper into understanding why I do what I do. And we're getting to that, the root of that, like that nugget in the first course. And then once you have that like initial light bulb, now you start to do things on purpose. Now you start to observe yourself in the present moment in real time. And then you sort of chart a course for where you want to go in a way that you know is going to deeply satisfy your values, or you're going to be making choices that you're aware are frustrating some while they satisfy others. Game changer, life altering. Like you are understanding self at the deepest level. It's really cool. And to watch the students' light bulbs go off is, oh my God, so gratifying. Hey, Allie?
It's so gratifying because every single new example that comes up for them or new piece of content, you can just see the cogs turning, just like they turn for me still after having sat through and participated in so many Know Your Values courses. I still, when I was at the coffee shop the other day and I ordered whatever I ordered, my go-to like weird beetroot latte thing. And I ordered it and then it comes up on the other side and the server brings it to the side, but she just sets it in front of me and makes no eye contact and says no words or no like reassurance that this is actually my thing. Although luckily it's like bright pink, so I'm like, this is probably the beetroot. Okay, I'll just take it. But I had this big reaction, like this big like how rude, like this big story that flooded about that person is clearly doing the wrong thing right now. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's bigger than usual for me, or bigger than maybe it quote unquote should be. And it was like all the way back to the foundational course in that moment to go, what value just got jammed up for me in that moment? And also reorienting my mindset instead of saying, what value did that person jam up in my life? It's what value is being jammed up for me. And then I can say things like, connection or feeling seen or, there was a few different values for me sort of washing around inside me when that happened. But I literally had to skip back to the original, back to basics thing and start there to be able to follow the steps to the other, maybe juicier courses like shadow values and like assertive expression. People love to learn that sort of thing. But if you don't have the first bit down really, really solidly, it gets lost and it's diluted and it just doesn't work quite as well. So to be able to have that know your values, not only a theoretical understanding, but you almost need to have it in your bones so that in the moment when the goddamn coffee person isn't nice to me, I can change my story and take accountability back. and it's because probably I've done like level of stuff a million times, and just hanging out with in this world is like forced practice. But it is so foundational. And with that comes everything else, every other course.
Yeah. Yeah, every course has to come after this one. And it's such a funny thing, and I keep talking about it like it's a relationship with your values that we're helping you to create in this. And what we're actually talking about is a relationship with yourself, using your values as the introspection tool or the self-awareness tool and the conduit to being aware of why you do what you do. But I'm 14 years into this practice as well, and I'm just evolving my value around humor to actually being more accurately playfulness, and I'm testing, I'm using them in real time and learning and adapting and deepening my relationship, just like you said you're doing with that value. Is it this? Is it that? I notice that it's showing up like this so many times, and now I can understand, or a word triggers, and I'm like, oh, that's what has been missing. Yeah, it's an ongoing practice. There's no like, I took the quiz, I know my values, I'm good for life. That's not how this works, because this is as much as a relationship with a friend or a relationship with a loved one or a significant partner. This relationship with you, you are evolving. You are going through this dynamic world, and you're not static. And your values have to be part of that relationship to be evolving alongside of it. It's so cool.
It's so cool. And it's the reason why I think you and I, as mediators, having been in that mediation space for years and years and years, resonate so much with values, because we know that it's the crux of a good conversation. If people are talking in a values-based way, which they don't use that language in mediation, but that's what it is. If people are talking in a values-based way to have a tough conversation, it transforms everything. It's no longer about, well, I want this and you want the opposite, so there's nothing we can do here. We'll just never agree. If we go deeper and start talking about values, there was always common ground, and there was always room for finding understanding. And so if we're able to do that for ourselves and say, okay, self, we're showing up in some ways that I really don't like. So instead of exiling that part of me and being like, you're over there and I hate you, okay, come on in here. Let me see if I can understand you from a values-based perspective. And then suddenly I am, getting to know myself and integrating, instead of saying, I don't like that side of me that yells at the coffee person, so I'm just going to not talk about that and not tell anybody and hopefully never do that again. There's a different way, which is bring that little side of me in there and understand what's going on in that moment. And then it comes in and it gets to be loved and it gets to be part of me. And that in itself is really transformational.
That full on self-acceptance, that radical self-acceptance leading to that integration, is that the like most deepest self-love practice. I love me because I understand me. And everything is it becomes integrated, like exactly like you said. I love the way you said that.